Welcome into the Safeguard Podcast. I am Outnumbered.
Matt, can we please change the subject?
At Safeguard, we want to be versatile. We want to help in every way that we can and not just in one certain area or one certain product. We want to be holistic planners for you. A good agent or advisor should provide you good information regardless of whether they sell you something.
It is so frustrating that people are penalized for making a mistake when the government doesn't do anything to educate them.
Honestly, shouldn't it just be about helping people? Listen to this. 33% of men and 43% of women have no life insurance at all. That doesn't even count the people that don't have enough.
Insurance has the power to change people's lives.
You have got to be sure that you educate yourself before you make major decisions. Honestly, I couldn't imagine not being a Safeguard at this point. Hey guys, welcome back in to Safeguard the Podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Stephanie.
And we're the McKays, and we're back. It's a miracle. We've done it 2 weeks in a row, and we're excited to, get back a streak rolling.
Yeah.
So anyway, here we are, and we're excited about today's subject. A lot of things going on, and we just wanted to bring you some ideas. Today we're going to talk about different products that you can use to help save yourself money that a lot of times we don't think about as being very important, but they are very important, and a lot of people can get them, and they're usually pretty darn affordable.
Yeah. Some people might not even know that they're available.
Yeah, and so that's just a little tease for what we're going to talk about today. A couple things going on in the insurance world. There was a law or a bill in Kentucky that was working its way through the different chambers of Congress in Kentucky, and basically they were trying to charge sales tax on insurance products. So when we sit down, you have to pay taxes when you buy life insurance or health insurance or whatever.
Yikes.
So anyway, it was something that they didn't pass, but it is concerning. Pay attention to some of these little bills and stuff that don't seem like that big of a deal, because they're throwing things in that may change your general everyday experience. So Politics may not be something you're passionate about. I'm not really that passionate about politics.
I hate politics.
She's not at all. But she does care when things actually matter, and sometimes politics matters because it affects how we live our lives sometimes. It would have affected us in our careers. So we do need to pay attention, and we want to encourage you, pay attention to what's going on in your world and be aware. So other than that, also something to be aware of is some of the COVID-19 regulations may be falling off if they don't renew them. And so here's what I would say here is we all know that we can't continue to basically continue waiving all the Medicaid rules and all the things that they've done to help people get through COVID. At some point, they've been eating trillions of dollars, and it's dug our country into a lot of debt. So at some point, they've got to cut off all the assistance, or at least slow it down, or we as a country are going to go broke. So pay attention to what's going on. You may possibly, if they don't renew some things, lose your Medicaid or lose your extra assistance that you've been getting, or they may contract some of those things that haven't been being regulated because of COVID. So hopefully we do get back to normal and away from COVID. I don't think anybody wants COVID to continue forever.
No.
So consequences are that we may have to start paying for some things that we haven't had to, student loans, health insurance, whatever. So if that's you, pay attention, be on the lookout, and don't get blindsided by something saying, surprise, you just lost your Medicaid, surprise, you now owe something, surprise, you need to pay your student loans, you're overdue on this, you now have to pay your rent, whatever it is. Unfortunately, we do have to move on, and hopefully the world gets better and we get back to more normal. But that is an unintended consequence of getting back to normal is sometimes we've got to pay more than we have been paying because the government's been helping us. So, just want to make sure people are aware of that.
Okay, so that is today's Safeguard Scoop.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go ahead and get into today's topic, which I think is something that people really need to know about and sometimes is often overlooked. Do you want to elaborate on what we're going to go over today?
Well, first of all, I'd like to turn it back to you.
Okay.
And I'd like to say, why did you think this topic of cancer, heart attack, and stroke, accident, critical illness, hospital indemnity, those types of policies, why are those important? Why did you think it's something that we should talk about today?
Well, part of the reason is I feel like it's something that's often overlooked by people.
True.
And I feel like it's something that people don't necessarily know about. I didn't know about these type of policies until I was in insurance. And the amount of people who take a cancer policy or a heart attack and stroke policy or critical illness policy or any of the policies in that same caliber, it's just there's not a ton of people who take them, but of the people who take them, so many people are grateful that they did so. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like being able to talk about that and telling people, hey, did you know you could get this and it is super affordable, and in the case that you need it, it's going to provide you thousands of dollars.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
It's not something
Kentucky weather, 4 seasons in a day. I'm sorry. It's
yeah,
messing with me.
seriously. It's just, it's
I sound like I've got
something.
the Rona or something. I don't, I promise.
It's just something that I feel like is important, and I look forward to being able to talk about that to people. I was looking at some statistics about cancer, and it was 16% of cancer patients quit their treatment because they can't afford their treatment.
Mm.
And that's alarming. 16% of people that are diagnosed with cancer don't do their treatments. There's an even larger percentage of people who continue their treatments but only do half of the treatment that they're supposed to or something like that. And that dramatically reduces their risk of survival. Mm-hmm. And it is heartbreaking and gut-wrenching to think that there are literally people dying because they cannot afford to save their own lives. Mm. And when you put that into perspective of you can pay a small premium to prevent this from ever happening to you or your loved one, to me it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the point of these types of policies. So, I mean, just so you know, and I thought you made a really good point, like when you started talking about that, and I just forgot what it was.
I was going to say, I made a lot of good points, so which one?
I mean, I'm overwhelmed with the greatness of your answers. But I think it's really important. Oh, it's affordable.
Yeah. The
number of people that actually have it is completely disproportionate to the number of people that could actually afford it. You can get some kind of cancer policy that will be effective and provide you a pretty good amount of money for nothing, especially if you're young. But even if you're older, not even if you're young, you can, 60, 70-year-old person can get a cancer policy that covers some of your concerns in your Medicare policy. I had a guy, it was like $18 a month. We got a cancer policy that was going to take care of one of the biggest threats in his insurance.
Yeah.
Why would you not do that?
And even more to drive that point home, our personal policies, when we added our 2 children on, it cost $3 each for them to be on a substantial, like
was it a $50,000
benefit for our children
$3
for
$3. Month. So for $6, I'm not saying, and this is not about getting rich. This was something that came up with a lady that I was just talking to right before we came on the podcast. It's not about
getting rich off of getting sick. It's about taking care of the needs that you will have when you get sick.
It's about paying for a hotel when you have to travel to your cancer treatment. That's something people don't think about.
Yeah.
They don't think about you're going to be gone potentially for months at a time getting cancer treatments at a specific facility that administers.
Who's going to mow your yard?
Who's
going to take care of your house when you're on chemo and you can't hardly walk?
Yeah.
And your wife or your husband is carrying you around trying to make sure that you go to the bathroom.
And like he said, it's not to make you rich. It's to pay for the loss of income that you're going to sustain by not being able to work as you're going through treatment.
Yeah.
Or for your spouse who may have to take off of work to care for you because you're too sick to care for yourself, and then you're losing potentially both of your incomes for a time period. There's so much that people often overlook about what the cost involved with any kind of major illness, cancer, heart attack, stroke, any of those things that can happen. There is so much cost associated, more so cancer, because typically that one's going to have ongoing treatments. In some cases, people can have one stroke and never have a stroke again in their life. But there are people who have histories of strokes that have multiple and do have to get treatments for that.
Yeah.
And there are plans to help in that situation too. But in the situation of cancer, cancer is the number one cause of medical bankruptcy in the world. And even further than that, medical bankruptcy is the number one form of bankruptcy in the world. So cancer is literally the cause of all of that because the cost involved is so substantial and people just think, oh, my health insurance will cover that. Hold on, wait a second. Traditional health insurance plans across the board, group insurance, Medicare, regular health insurance, it doesn't matter. They don't typically handle what's considered experimental treatments. Which, newsflash, a lot of cancer treatments are considered experimental. And health insurance just doesn't cover that, which means that falls on you and your family to pay for. So a lot of people just think it's going to be covered and then they're blindsided when it's not. It also could pertain to your medications because cancer medications are also very costly and they're not really handled by insurance very well either. So that's just a few of the things that can happen in a world of many things that can happen, which is why I thought it was important.
Yeah, and let's talk about some statistics, okay? And we don't have any pulled up, but I know that we know a bunch of these. So the chances that you're going to get some kind of cancer, because some people are probably saying, well, come on, it's not going to happen to me or whatever. The chances that you get some kind of cancer are between 1 in 3 and 1 in 4, depending on gender, things like that. Some places you look, it could be even 1 in 2.
1 in 2 for men and 1 in 3 for women. But obviously, there are different types of cancers there.
But regardless of family history, so the percentages are about the same. Obviously, if you have family history and some of it's genetic, sure, there's a higher risk of cancer. But it's still the same risk for everybody. It's a random, cancer is not a judicious disease. It attacks everybody. The weak and the strong. It seems like sometimes the stronger are the ones that get attacked with cancer in some ways. And it's very sad. I'm sure you know of someone that's had some kind of issue with cancer run in, whether breast cancer, brain cancer, pancreatic cancer. I've had
cancer.
Yeah, in Kentucky or in some of the areas of the South, a lot of times lung cancer is super prevalent because of smoking. Yeah. But even without it, sometimes you can have lung cancer. It's much less likely. But the thing about a lot of these policies is they provide a lot of value without costing that much.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of times you may be offered this in your group package. We talked about group benefits last week.
Yeah.
a lot of times you'll have something like critical illness, and you just click a button on the website, and no, I don't need critical illness.
I've never heard of it. I don't know what it is.
I've never heard of critical illness. Right? Critical illness is basically anything that makes you sick, that makes you really sick.
That could cause you to be off of work.
Right. And so there are critical illness policies that cover cancer, but they also cover heart attack, stroke. What if you have renal failure or any organ failure, or you need an organ transplant, or you have some other kind of dread disease like, some of the other ones. Some of the, like lupus or some of these other
multiple sclerosis,
MS, things like that, Lou Gehrig's, ALS, whatever.
Yeah.
So they're very wide ranging in their coverage sometimes, and they're affordable. Also, some of these other ideas like an accident insurance. It's a similar idea. Basically, if you look at your health insurance, almost everybody has health insurance. If you don't, these are even more important.
Yes.
Because you're going to have to pay cash. And what these policies do is they provide cash for you, not just to pay for the bills, but to pay for all the other things like we mentioned, somebody having to mow the yard, or somebody having to take care of the dogs, or watching kids, or whatever it is while you're doing these treatments, or going off and you have to quit your job, or your spouse does.
Bills that are accumulating while you're not able to generate an income.
So even within your health insurance, let's say that you have a maximum out of pocket of $7,000. Okay, a lot of group insurance is $7,000 or so.
Yeah.
Whatever. So say it's $7,000. Okay. When you have cancer or some kind of chronic illness, a lot of times you're going to end up paying that amount.
If it's covered.
If it's covered, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's say that you purchase just a $10,000 cancer policy. Mm-hmm. Will that not help you pay those medical bills if you get a $10,000 check when you get diagnosed with cancer?
Yeah.
Of course it would. And a $10,000 policy on that guy that I was talking about is about 69 or 70 years old, whatever he was. It's like $18 for $10,000 at 70 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a phenomenal price.
Yeah, for $10,000, and it covered the concerns in his Medicare. Okay, it's not that much to get a little something. And if let's say that you're some kind of like you're a business owner, let's talk about those statistics. How many businesses shut down because somebody gets sick?
Oh, we've seen that around our town. Some of my favorite restaurants closed unexpectedly because the business owner got sick and couldn't afford to keep the restaurant going. It was very sad.
I believe companies shutting down, like small businesses shutting down, I think it's something like 1/3 of them shut down because of critical illness.
Yeah.
Okay? If they had something in place to take care of it, those businesses might have had a chance. Mm-hmm. So if you're a small business owner, it's a no-brainer to get some kind of cancer policy or something. You know, I've been talking about this in some of our networking groups and stuff like that. If you're a business owner and you're close to retirement, or let's say that you're close to retirement at all, what's the biggest threat to your retirement right now? I think it would be if you got sick before you got to finish up your plans to retire.
Yeah.
So let's say you're 58 years old. You get sick right now, and your plan is that you're going to work till 65, okay? Mm-hmm. And you make $50,000 a year, okay? That's $350,000 total to your family that doesn't show up because you got sick.
Yeah.
And you've got medical bills that you're now going to have to deal with, okay? If you had purchased something to protect yourself in the case of getting sick, whether it was a disability policy, which is a separate conversation but important, or a cancer policy that writes you a $100,000 check to try to compensate for some of these concerns, that'd be a lot easier than having nothing that pays you right now and not having a job. And while you're trying to fight, hoping that you could maybe get some Social Security disability for 40% of your lifetime income,
And I will say on the Social Security disability, it's a fantastic program. I have a client right now that I'm working with that's been waiting over a year just to get it approved.
Right.
That he's expecting back pay when they finally approve him, but a year to process his application.
Okay. That's a perfect point. And if you had a cancer policy, how quickly would it pay?
You get diagnosed with cancer, you fill out the cancer form, and they could pay you within a few weeks.
Yeah.
And you have a check in the mail that you go cash that will immediately show up in your bank account for X amount of $1,000. If it was a $10,000 policy, how long could you live on $10,000 without getting another paycheck? If it's $25,000, if it's $50,000, if it's $100,000, if you had 5 cancer policies all for $100,000, whatever it is, how much difference would that make in your life if you were diagnosed with cancer and you got a check to take care of some things instead of being completely lost and losing your income and being sick?
Yeah.
It's not fun. It's not about getting rich. It's about protecting yourself.
Yeah.
And so these ideas are designed to help you, and they don't cost that much because they don't pay every time. Not every person is going to end up using it, but a large percentage of people will. And it's a shame that more people don't get these policies because the companies, you know, we paint insurance as this horrible, you know, all these insurance companies are terrible and they're all out to make a bunch of money and they're the devil. Well, when they pay out, they're the savior. And you get a cancer policy and you get cancer, I've seen people crying,
Yes.
getting their check, saying thank you for helping us figure this out.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming by our house and asking us about this cancer policy. And I'm so glad that I could, you know, and some people forget about it. You know, you might have forgotten that you purchased one, but you get sick and then you file a claim and you get a check. It feels a lot better than, man, I didn't spend, you know, $20 a month and I could have had a $50,000 check in my hands.
Yeah.
We canceled that policy last year and now all of a sudden it actually happens and now we regret it. You don't want to be that way and you don't want to have that issue. You know, some people, it's true that some people probably can't afford to add too much to their budget. Okay, I understand. You may be listening and you're the one that's like, I really can't afford to set aside more money in my budget for a what if item. But if you, first of all, it's important either way to try to protect, especially if you don't have the kind of money that's sitting around in a savings or whatever to be able to make things work for a while. Purchasing policies that will provide you those things when bad things happen are even more important. But also if you're one of those people that maybe you do have a little extra or you're spending money on coffee or eating out or whatever, and you could cut off Starbucks once a week and be able to pay something that will protect you and your family, why would you not do that?
Yeah.
And so, it's not always glamorous to be like, I'm gonna get a cancer policy this week. You know, I'm gonna buy some accident insurance. I'm gonna, you know, find something that's gonna cover the holes in my health insurance. But guess what? When you need it, it's pretty cool that you just bought it and some guy sat across from your table and sold you some
or lady
dadgum policy he made me buy, and it's been coming out of my bank account forever. You don't say that when it pays.
No.
You say that when maybe you look at it and you're looking at your budget and it's already on there, but what do we need this cancer policy for? Well, think about the people that have been sick in your life, the people that have had problems.
That's exactly right. How many people listening right now know somebody or have themselves been affected by cancer? It's probably very likely that every person in the world knows somebody or knows of somebody who has been affected and has been diagnosed with cancer, whether that individual died or not, because the day is coming that more and more people are surviving cancer, and that's a wonderful thing.
And that makes it even more important.
But yeah.
If you're surviving, then you still have to be able to move on and live.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
So
yeah.
It's different if you die. I mean, I don't want to be too flippant about someone passing away. Mm-hmm. But if you're gone, then you don't have to worry about living on and figuring out how to pay for it. If you live, you're going to have to get back on your feet and live through the damage of the financial damage of this.
Yeah.
I mean, your family has to deal with the financial
damage. And emotional. Like, that's going to take just a toll on your overall life. And the last thing that you want to worry about when you're going through the hardest time of your life, or your spouse is going through the hardest time of your marriage, the last thing you want to be concerned with is, how am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to pay for this treatment? How am I going to pick up these medications from the pharmacy? They're going to tell me I owe them $2,000. That's not what you want to be worried about. You want to be worried about, what can I do to save my life, or what can I do to save my spouse's life? Mm-hmm. And that is the only thing that you should be burdened and concerned with at that time. Yeah. And I actually have a story I want to share of a client of mine.
I've got two that I think
you got two? Okay, well, I've got one, and I'm going to share his name because his name is very generic, and this is his real name. His name is James. I feel like I can say that because that doesn't identify him. But he...
I guess it depends on what details you
No,
share.
I'm not going to share too much. He was diagnosed with cancer. And his wife had a group policy. When she retired, it was a portable cancer policy. And she had basically said, okay, I am going to keep this cancer policy until the end of this year, and then I'm going to cancel it. Well, James was diagnosed with cancer in February of that following year. His wife had actually forgotten to cancel the cancer policy.
I didn't know the story.
Okay. So he is receiving treatment through an oral pill, which is very, very, very expensive. I don't even remember what it's called, but it's very expensive. And lo and behold, his cancer policy, it's not covered fully by insurance, and it's, like I said, it's very expensive. So his cancer policy covers that oral pill so that they're not out of pocket for his treatment. And she was just in my office when we talked about this, and she was just so thrilled that he was able to get his treatment on his oral pill that he has to take. And she was just so happy that they still had that policy in place, and hadn't canceled it. And I mean, when we're talking about this, we're borderline in tears because he was able to get the treatment he needed. She was able to keep working as they're going through all of this. Wow. And it did not financially ruin them because of that cancer policy. And had she canceled that policy 2 months before, who knows? I don't know how they would have afforded it or how they would have managed. I don't know. But it was one of those like, oh, thank goodness, everything worked out moments. And I just think it speaks for the situation of how thankful you would be to have that coverage in the event that you ever need it. And I hope you have the policy and you never need it, because we don't want people to get diagnosed with cancer. We have cancer policies on us. I hope to God we never have to use them. I don't want to ever get rich off of that. That's not something that I want. I want it there in case something awful happens, and that I'm able to get the treatment I need so I can continue on for my 2 little girls and for my husband. Yeah. And that is what it is there for. So you said you have 2. What are you thinking?
Well, I've got one that I was just dealing with
that is actually, it's a negative. They don't have cancer insurance. And she was just diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh.
And they don't. I was asking, do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have something that maybe could pay something insurance-wise? And she said no. And so they're now going to have to figure out how to make it work. He's got a really good job. He's like an executive, travels the country and sometimes even North America and the world to take care of his business. Well, now she's got cancer and she's getting treatments, and they've got people that are now also relying on them to try to help them navigate these waters, and didn't have cancer policy. And so this is a family that has money that certainly could have paid, $30, $40, $50 a month and had cancer policies on each one of them. And they didn't. And so, and he actually had cancer before, and they still didn't get cancer coverage on her.
Cancer, it didn't.
Right, and it's just, this is why you need to ask these types of questions. This is why you need to take care of things. This is why you need an agent in your life that reminds you of these things, even though it's not that fun. If I had been able to give them that advice, I would have said, what about getting cancer policy on you? He's already had cancer. What about you? And then she might have taken it. So this is why an agent's important. Now, a positive story that I have that just came up is this guy and his wife. His wife is making really good money, has a really good job. She's an executive in our area, and he is really sick and near dialysis level, having issues and things like that. Well, I was able to find a way to get him a guaranteed issue hospital indemnity that's going to pay $900 a day to them when he goes and gets admitted to the hospital, to help counteract some of the bills that he's going to have from having to get 3 injections a week, and he may have to, in addition, get dialysis at some point. He's in really rough shape, but I was able to get them a hospital indemnity policy that potentially could pay them, I believe it's almost $30,000. I think it's a little over $30,000 per year to take care of reimbursing them for some of his expenses, because she can't quit working or they're going to lose a multi-6-figure income in the household, and he can't get out, and they have to call an ambulance or they have to call a sophisticated service to be able to get him to his treatments, or they have to hire someone that can take him to do that. And so anyway, we found a policy that is going to take care of it for him and possibly reimburse them tens of thousands of dollars to take care of their concerns. And so that's the value of these policies, and I wanted to finish kind of our conversation with something like that, because let's give examples of both how it works, and unfortunately let's also be honest about when we haven't done the things that we should do, what happens when you don't. And I think that's really important, is to let us be honest with you, and also be honest with yourself. And consider these things. If you care about your family and you care about taking care of things, and you want to take care of yourself and also other people, getting these things in place, protecting yourself and others by getting policies is one of the easiest and most economical ways to take care of future health concerns.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, anything you'd like to add in on?
I think my kind of closing thoughts is, you asked when we first started, and you said, I want to send it back to you, and kind of why is this something I wanted to talk about. And as we were sitting here, I keep thinking of 2 of my grandparents that I lost to cancer, and how different things might have been had they had a cancer policy themselves. And I think that is why I feel so passionate about, and why I wanted to make sure that this is something that we kind of brought to light for the people who might not even know, like I didn't know, that these plans are available. And I think that is probably why I felt like it should be brought into focus a little bit, and just not something to brush by, because there are people that just would get a policy if they knew.
Wow.
So
that's
I
really,
thought
that's really good, and that's a great way to wrap it up. So again, if you're one of those people that didn't really know that this idea exists, or if you have a concern about your finances in any way, reach out to your local agent, reach out to an advisor, reach out to somebody and ask some questions, because
reach out to us. Doesn't matter.
Reach out to us.
Doesn't matter.
270-904-6070 if you want to reach out to us, okay? We're here for you. There are solutions out there to your problems, whether you realize it or not. And it's up to you to go find them, because we're out here, but sometimes people aren't looking or don't know where to look. And so if you ran across this and you've heard something that you need to act on, then act on it. Do it. Don't sit there and just feel like I hope it'll work out. Make something happen. And so we're here for you. We care about you. We wanted to bring this episode to you because it's important, and it's something that almost everybody could do. It is super affordable, and there is something that you can do to protect yourself and your family related to your coverages. So like, subscribe, follow, all that stuff. Safeguard Insurance, Safeguard KY. Give us a share and all that kind of stuff. But we really appreciate the time that you've taken. Listen to our other episodes and share it with your friends and let people know that we're doing a good thing here. And we're just out to help you and the people that you love. Hope you all are doing well. Take care, and God bless.
See you next time.